All right, hey there. Welcome back into your free courses. Hope you're enjoying it so far. We have put in a ton of work to make it really great for you. Hopefully you're taking the time to watch this with your team, implement it, role play it, because that is the key, is the implementation and the practice. And why so many, as you've heard us talk about throughout these free courses, why so many people love our private client coaching is we inevitably get them to do the things that they're sometimes unlikely to do without that personal trainer. And today, in this module, we're going to be talking specific to the financial presentation. The doctor has left the room, you're ready to present money, and we're going to be talking about the 12 critical financial presentation mistakes that are costing you starts, cash flow, and revenue. This is taken right out of our really popular Financial Presentation University course. It's a great on-demand course that you can buy right off of our website. You can choose to hire us with some private sessions to help you get that implemented as well, or you can get it as an on-demand member, all right? Really popular course, and looking forward to diving in with you today. We've been through this long journey, and this is where we are, like I was saying. It's time for the doctor to prescribe treatment and leave. A TC or whatever your job position is in your practice that's in charge of presenting money, it's time to take over. Now, talking about breaking the mode of normal, this consumer journey that we've been talking about, the financial presentation, make no mistake, is part of that journey, okay? It's part of offering an exceptional, unexpected consumer experience. And I want to talk to you about that because there's not a lot of unique things that go into a lot of financial presentations. In fact, there's a lot of things that detract from it, which we're going to be talking about today. All right, and I want you to ask, whenever I go on stage and I bring up treatment coordinators and I say, okay, doctor's left, present me money, go. And first treatment coordinator goes. And then we do the same role play again with the second treatment coordinator. And then the third TC goes and the fourth TC goes. You have this theme. And the theme is, this is exactly what I do on stage, is I have nothing up here. I have people go, and then I do this. And this right here is what they all did during their role plays. And it shows, as we've talked about so much in this free course, that so many things inside practices are they're just the same. And it's hard for a consumer to differentiate between the practice that charges $5,000 and the practice that charges $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, because so many of the consumer touch points from a non-clinical standpoint are the same. So you're not differentiating yourself. And let's read this and be honest, like, is this you? And obviously it may not be word for word, but it's probably pretty close to what you're thinking that you do inside the TC room. Mrs. Jones, your insurance covers approximately $1,000 of your total treatment fee. That leaves you with a total out-of-pocket expense of about $5,000. This comes with A, B, and C. You know, you have your chart out, your itemized list, and you're going through things. And if you're an orthodontic practice, as an example, that may come with an Invisalign treatment. It's 18 months. Set of retainers, whatever else, you're going down your list. Then you say you can pay this in full. We offer a 5% discount. We do offer an in-house payment option that is 0% interest that requires at least a $1,500 down payment, and it has a monthly payment that extends, or monthly payments that extend for as long as your treatment time, okay? So up here, if this was 18 months, now you have 18 months to pay that treatment off. Or we do have third-party financing available that's also 0% interest. And you hit them with a paragraph that looks very similar to this. And if you role play with 999 out of 1,000 treatment coordinators when it comes money time, this is what you get, okay? And packed in that paragraph, and it's scary because there's a lot of in-industry consultants that are actually teaching these mistakes that we're going to be going over today, okay? Because this is some advanced sales stuff that we're teaching you and have been teaching you throughout this free course. And that's what that's what we talk about. We are experts in all the non-clinical, but we know the practice environment enough to apply those things to your practice, okay? So packed in this paragraph, all right, is all of these 12 financial presentation mistakes we're going to be talking about that reduce case acceptance, reduce same-day starts, reduce your overall starts, reduce your revenue, reduce your cash flow, reduce your upfront collections, which inevitably when we talk cash flow, that's how much money did the patient put down at the time they signed their contract, okay? Our new patient group customers are regularly twice the national average from how much people are putting down at the time of signature, all right? Which increases your cash flow when you have more upfront collections. Reduce profitability and reduce growth. And now what's not on here that's packed in here is that when all of this goes down, your chaos goes up. You have to spend more on advertising. And the more advertising you spend, that means there's got to be more people walking through the door, hopefully. But as more people walk through the door, it's hard to be great at customer service. It's hard to be efficient. It's hard to just slow down and make more. And we want to teach you, just like we do for a living, we want to teach you how to increase your prices that we've been talking about, right? And convert at a higher level. That's what we're going to talk in. And these are the 12 that we're going to dive into today, okay? Avoid these mistakes in order to charge more. Apathy, the insurance dilemma, trigger words. Trigger words are amazing, and they have a huge psychological impact either in your favor or against you. Information overload, anchoring bias, which is an advanced form of sticker shock. We're going to combine those two together when we talk about it. Transactional thinking, which is a huge mindset shift you need to make in this economy to really thrive and maximize your potential. Personal bias, which we all have. I'm going to teach you how we do that or how personal bias affects that financial presentation. The down payment dilemma, the 0% interest dilemma, treatment time payment plans, and lack of flexibility. We're going to touch on almost all of those in this course. This is going to be a power-packed course, a little bit longer than the rest of them have been in the free course, because we know how important presenting money is. We know how important that TC is to your organization. So I'm going to go in depth and give you some great pearls today. But I want to ask you a question. All right? I want to see if you've been paying attention to Coach Eric, Coach Haley, and myself along this journey. So how would you fill in the blank here? We are increasing prices because ... What have we taught you on the higher you want your price, the more this needs to rise, right? And its value. And I want to talk about this because nowhere in this particular course I'm about to teach am I teaching you to lower your prices, okay? There's going to be a couple things I talk about that can be misconstrued that way. So I'm going to keep reverting back and reminding you this is not about being cheap. This is not about reducing your prices. This is about doing things in a different way, communicating, presenting in a different way that allow you to fill this in. We are increasing prices because we are increasing our value. Okay, that is what you want to constantly go back to. If you want to increase your prices, you must increase the value that you offer. And let's get started. The very first one is apathy. What is apathy from a psychological standpoint? Let's take a look. A lack of feeling, a lack of emotion, lack of interest and or concern about a given thing, a something. It is a state of indifference or the suppression of emotions. Look, orthodontics is supposed to be an exciting time. Plastic surgery is exciting time. There's a lot of healthcare options out there that people are choosing to buy with their disposable income that they are really excited about or should be excited about. And it's very easy inside the practice to get inside your rut and get inside your daily routine. Maybe you have trouble with your boyfriend or your husband, your girlfriend, whatever it may be. And the personal ends up affecting the work. Maybe it's just you're not enjoying your job, so it's hard not to be apathetic, right? But apathy really shows throughout this entire presentation in the sense of there is no feeling, just like the psychological definition. There's a lack of feeling, a lack of emotion. This is an exciting moment for that patient, that family. And it's hard to get them to go, I want to buy from here and spend the next year, 2+ years of my life with this place, if they aren't as excited as me. And based on how you present, you can actually drive down their excitement. And that's what apathy and the psychology of it is all about. That lack of feeling, that lack of emotional tie, if you will, can easily get people to go, I am buying somewhere else. I mean, think about it. Mrs. Jones, your insurance covers approximately $1,000. That leaves you with a total out-of-pocket expense of $5,000. This comes with this and this and this. It's just this paragraph of blah. And we have to remember and we have to ask ourselves, are we putting people to sleep? Because again, it goes back to they are shopping. They are shopping. And if you come across to the patient in just an apathetic way, it absolutely influences their behavior in a negative way because however you come across is going to influence them either in your favor positively or against you negatively. And all of the things that go into, remember marketing, everything is marketing. That's what we teach, right? Your clinical abilities, doctors watching, that is marketing because it's how people perceive you, right? Anything that influences how people perceive you is marketing. Your makeup, your clothes, your hair, the ambiance of the office, all of this goes into whether or not people say yes to you. And it's the same thing here. When you're presenting money, your verbiage, your tone, your posture, your body language, and many other factors have a direct and indirect influence, impact, whether someone buys from you today, at a later time, or never, and goes to buy somewhere else, or maybe nowhere at all. All right, this is an exciting time. The best closers, look, if you're a baseball fan, it's a one-run game. The manager's going to the bullpen and calling you in. You're the closer. You've got to protect that one-run lead. And the best closers exude confidence, they are excited, and they showcase extraordinary passion. Why they are better. In this case, why are you better than the other options, the other choices people have out there because they're shopping? We have to be unique and take action. You have to show excitement. And I want to give you a little scripting here. Throughout this course, what I'm going to be doing is bringing the scripting together as we teach you more and more so you can see how it plays out. This is the beginning, and you can already see the difference. I want you to screenshot this, and then most of all, I want you to role play it as you go through this course, okay? Mrs. Jones, we are so excited for you to get started with us. It's always a special feeling when we get to welcome someone new in our orthodontic family. Let's go over some details about your treatment so you can get started with us today. Do you see the difference? The passion, the body language, emphasizing the explanation points, the smiley face. Can you see the difference between that and just your insurance is going to cover, right? And I'm going to bring, once we get to the insurance dilemma next, we're going to tie these together into some additional scripting, and you'll see it start to play out. We've got to present and start our presentation different than the rest of the practices. Because again, it goes, let the other practices be apathetic, you be excited, you have emotion, you showcase to them how much their business means to you. And you may look at this and you may be the type where this is uncomfortable, like this isn't normal language. Well, that's where the commitment to role plays and practice come in. I know it's not supposed to be, yay, I get to role play today. Yeah, of course it's not supposed to be that way. We don't expect you to be excited about it, but we do expect you to acknowledge that it helps. Just like it helps a baseball player, a basketball player, any type of athlete, a piano player, anybody that wants to perfect their art and continually get better. Practice is what does it. Repetition is what does it. And that's what you may need here, okay? So make sure you've screenshotted this. Let's start this off. This isn't hard. This is something you can get going right away. You just have to remember that you can't let your daily rut, the daily job, get you to a point that when you present money, you're just apathetic. It's just one more job description, just one more thing you're doing. Remember, that family hasn't been to you before, right? Or maybe it's a brother and now his sister's coming in. So maybe they have been with you before, but you get my point, right? This is an exciting moment and you have to meet their excitement and be even more excited for them, okay? So that's number one, the insurance dilemma. All right, let's take a look at what the insurance dilemma is. If we look over here, I have it in red. And then over here where you see the red, that's what it is, okay? So I'm going to be doing that a lot throughout this course. Now the insurance dilemma, this is where it shows up in that little paragraph. Your insurance covers approximately $1,000 of your total treatment fee, which is almost how every single treatment coordinator starts their presentation. And we aren't saying don't start your presentation that way, right? We're going to start it with the scripting we just did from an apathy standpoint, how you avoid it. But now we're going to roll into the insurance dilemma. Let's discuss this a little bit. All right, what is the insurance dilemma? Well, partly the insurance dilemma is the fact if their insurance coverage is good with you, it's also going to be good at their second, third, fourth opinion, assuming everybody takes insurance, okay? Now, if their insurance coverage is bad with you, it's also going to be bad with their second, third, fourth opinion. So their insurance is not a reason they are technically going to buy from you. You have to understand if someone says, well, I'm going to wait till January. Maybe it's the end of the year. They're waiting for their insurance benefits to save up and they say, I'm going to wait till January. Well, guess what they're also doing? They're waiting till January as they get their second, third, fourth opinions. This is the world you live in. It's why we teach what we teach. It's why you've heard us repeat it so many times throughout this course. Okay, so back here, if it's good coverage, it's also good at the other practices. If it's bad at the other practices. So important for you to remember that, because just because it's awesome with you or stinks with you, same with the other practices, okay? Therefore, like I said, it's important to remember the coverage they have is not necessarily going to be a reason they are going to buy treatment from you as compared to the other practices they have visited. However, how you verbalize it is definitely a reason that they may buy from you, okay? And I'm going to show you what I mean by that here in just a minute. But I want to emphasize this again. It's all verbiage, presentation. It is what we are so good at and such experts at here with New Patient Group, and why our practices thrive. Sometimes it can just be hard to convince people, right? If you just switch your words, if you just switch your presentation, your body language, your tone, how you say the same thing, right? Saying it just a little bit different. It is amazing the results you can have as a business selling to a consumer. Amazing. So emphasize again, it is how you verbalize it, not the fact that you just cover the insurance. All right, I'm going to show you an example on how we can do this, and then we're going to bring some scripting together. All right, here's the standard apathetic insurance dilemma. Mrs. Jones, your insurance is going to cover $1,000 of your total treatment fee. And meanwhile, the patient says, and they're just yawning. Like, here we go again. That's exactly what I heard at the last opinion, right? And remember that. If you're their second opinion, which puts you at an upper hand, by the way, for a lot of reasons we'll talk about here later on, but say the second opinion. Well, the first opinion presented money and said the same exact thing. So now they're hearing the same thing from you. It's just like, all right, everybody's the same. You got to be different. All right, what if you heard this, right? Let's say your practice is this, and they went to a second opinion, and the TC said, Mrs. Jones, I have amazing news for you. Your insurance coverage is fantastic. It's awesome. And it's going to cover $1,000 towards your treatment today. We're really excited because we rarely see patients with that kind of coverage that is that good. You're really quite fortunate, and it places you in a great place to go ahead and get started with your Invisalign treatment today. Or whatever, the clear aligners, the braces, whatever your treatment modality is, whatever type of practice you are, can you see the difference? It is night and day. All right, so you say, how can we bring these two together? The first scripting I said, and this one. And let's take a look, because now we're going to combine what we've learned so far, and you can see the difference. Apathy, no more. We've got to show excitement, and we've got to have an emotional interest and buy-in to this family or to the patient. So we sit down, we don't have our clipboard, blah, blah, blah. Mrs. Jones, we're so excited for you to get started with us. It's always a really special feeling when we get to welcome someone into our family. Let's go over some details about your treatment so we can get started today. The first one is your insurance is amazing. It's going to cover $1,000 towards your treatment. You are really quite fortunate to have that great of coverage, as that is so much better than we see with most of our patients. This places you in a great position to get started with us today. Big, big difference. Don't you see how this, the meaning of it, the excitement, the emotional buy-in, and what I haven't talked about, because this just isn't the course for it, not enough time, is packed in here, is psychological power, man. There is so much psychology packed in here that will make such a huge difference for your practice. Now, again, this is just the surface. This is where the course, the Financial University course, on-demand course, dives into so much more detail. Our private client coaching dives into so much more detail, and we can help get you to the highest possible level. But this is such a great start for you if you can sit down. Now, as we keep going today, we're going to keep building on this. All right, so screenshot this if you haven't already, or come back to it, because we're going to keep on going and keep on building on this. Now, trigger words. A long time ago, I was at the AAO. I was doing a all-day workshop for OrthoFi. And this guy raises his hand in the audience, and I say, okay, sir, yes. And I'm just thinking he's a doctor, because there was doctors, that was the audience, and their team members. Well, this guy was actually the husband of one of the doctors, and he was a lawyer. And he goes, and I was kind of in the middle of teaching this, and he goes, this is amazing stuff. I was actually at an Apple event, and this is exactly what the Apple executives were teaching us and their employees. And it was such a great kind of testimonial, if you will, that really you could tell the audience was like, wow. Because it's almost like at a live testimonial in the middle of the audience. And it's just great because it really built on the authority of what I was talking about and really made me look like the expert. And this right here is something so powerful that applies way more than just a financial presentation, because what we're talking about is the financial presentation. We're going to talk about how this relates specifically, packed in that paragraph, all right? And this is why it's so powerful. Let's look at it from a psychological perspective. Words or phrases that cause a listener to feel strong emotions because of previous experiences. Trigger words oftentimes create skepticism that cause people to leave what is called the yes funnel, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second. The biggest thing to remember, or one of the biggest things to remember with trigger words, is rarely do they have a positive impact on somebody buying from you, referring to you, being loyal to you. It is almost always negative. And remember, we talked about the domino effect in the phone course. And what the domino effect, remember psychologically, is it's all about presentation, right? The order of your words. If you use pictures, what the pictures look like. It was really high level stuff, because what you're inevitably doing in the domino effect is that if you present one thing one way, you may get a great response. But if you present the same message another way, you may get a bad response. And that's all because our minds, they work in images. Now, the domino effect doesn't talk about how our minds work in images, but another psychological component of all of us is that our minds work in images. So as we speak, as we deliver our words, our body language, tone, etc., is building like these cartoon images constantly in our mind. You're getting them right now as I speak. Right? So as we're speaking on the phones, as we're doing our online marketing, our greeting our patients when they walk through the door, our exam process, trigger words apply throughout the whole environment, right? And they apply most oftentimes negatively, all right? Let's look at the yes funnel. Everything we're talking about as a company to you and why our services represent such a big journey here, all right? Because every single touch point either sets the next up for success, or the next person has to be that much better to overcome the lack of value the person sees so far in your organization at any given one point of that journey. And it doesn't stop. Like, we have a whole existing patient experience that's mapped out this same way. All of this stuff too. These are our services, and it's what's called the psychological yes funnel. And what that is every single step. You imagine them shopping and they're like, wow, this is cool. Like, their YouTube station is neat. They have a lot of really great education videos. The website is just amazing. It's so much more unique than any other place I'm shopping for. I'm gonna call them. And you call. And then the phone call goes fantastic. They're like, what's going on here? This place is clearly different. I mean, it was unique. The person cared. She edified passionately. I didn't have to wait. It's incredible. Then the downtime follows all the downtime concepts we teach. Then they show up and they sit in your waiting room, right? They sit. And the moment they do, they're starting to leave your yes funnel. Why? Because you've had all kinds of good images being created in this person's mind about what your organization represents. Halo effect that we talked about in the phone course, right? All of these good images. Then they walk in and they sit down. And now the images that come to mind is like every other healthcare environment they've ever walked into in their whole entire life. It's one of many reasons we teach the VIP greeting, which you learned earlier in this free course. But all of these steps, you want positive vibes. This place is good. It's convenient. They care. They're really proud of their place. They're passionate, right? They're clearly emotionally bought in. They like their job, which goes back to the culture, right? They have happy people, right? All of this stuff. And it's so, so, so important that all of you watching understand that all of these steps have an equal part in them eventually saying, here's my money. But they also have an equal part in getting people to say, let me think about it, or buying somewhere else. So that's the yes funnel. And as it relates to the financial presentation, those trigger words have a profound impact in the decision-making process of why people say, Let me think about it. Let me talk to my husband. Let me wait till January. Let me go a couple other places, right? Or a profound impact on why people say, let's do this, okay? But again, they are usually holding you back. Trigger words are not something that usually moves you forward, all right? Now, eliminating trigger words, that's how you move forward. Let's take a look at a few examples packed in this small paragraph that are trigger words that negatively, from a psychology standpoint, impact people and make it more difficult. Again, it doesn't mean it's impossible for you to close them, but it makes it more difficult. It's putting in red flags, okay? Taking them out of that yes funnel. The word fee, out-of-pocket expense, trigger words, requires, third-party financing. Those are multiple examples packed in a very short paragraph of placing people out of your yes funnel in a psychologically and making images, all right, that are stop signs, that are red flags, all right? So how do we change it? Let me show you some examples of trigger words first. I want you to screenshot this as we go. The word finances, financing, bank, third party, required, interest, fee, all right, cost, all trigger words and out of pocket. These are all common words used by treatment coordinators during the financial presentation, used by insurance coordinators when speaking with people, all of those. Okay, so you say to yourself, Brian, those are common words, what the heck do we do? Now our full financial university course, our on-demand membership that you get with that, or if you buy it, or our private clients, we go into much more depth, okay? But I'm gonna give you one that you can immediately use to eliminate a lot of those that is going to help you right away. All right, let's first look at this. Understand, like I was talking before, being unique and taking action. Understand that the words you speak, they have a profound impact on the response that you're going to get. This takes a mindset shift from that person's price shopping, that's why they didn't buy, to maybe they're price shopping because they didn't see any additional value in our practice and why they should spend another $1,000 or $2,000 because of how we're presenting. So this does require a little bit of looking in the mirror, which I know can be difficult, and that doesn't mean that you're bad. That's not what it means. It's just understanding there's a different way. And that different way can be the difference between getting people to say yes at a higher dollar or no, even at a lower dollar, okay? The verbiage. And I'm gonna give you one now, and it's the word investment. You're gonna see this in the scripting here coming up in just a little bit. So I'm not gonna use it now, but I'm gonna showcase it a little bit later with another thing that we're gonna teach from a mistake standpoint, okay? The word investment. Your investment is, your investment options are so many different, because again, imaging. What is the word investment? What does it mean by definition? What are the images that come to mind? Well, you get a return on that, which is exactly what they get with your practice. It's not a price, it's not a fee. You don't get a return on a price or a fee or a bill. You get a return on an investment, okay? And that's a great way to take action from that standpoint. All right, now let's take a look at information overload. You've heard this before in the phone course and some other times as well, probably throughout this free course, but information overload, let's first look at it from a psychological standpoint, and it's the excess of information available to a person aiming to complete a task and or make a decision. This happens to us all. This impedes the decision-making process, resulting usually in a poor or even no decision at all. This happens in businesses all the time. A long time ago, I was looking to buy a Ford Raptor. They let me bring home a blue one overnight, and I liked it. And I didn't know for sure if I was gonna buy it, but I was pretty close. So I bring it back to the dealership, as they told me I had to. I couldn't keep it for free for very long, unfortunately. But I get there, and the sales guy, with no ill intent, like he did this thinking that he was helping. He had multiple Raptors pulled out of the lot, sitting where I was pulling in. And they had another shade of blue, a gray, a white. And I went from like set on blue to then going, boy, that gray one, that one looks good. Ooh, I didn't think I liked that white one, but now I do. And he ruined a sale because I was overwhelmed with too many choices. And there's something called the psychology of choice. I'm not going to get into it today. That's one of our courses as an on-demand member. And the psychology of choice talks about when and when not to give decisions, or choices, excuse me. And then if you give choices, how you direct people to the choice that you benefit from, okay? And this right here, information overload, happens in the financial presentation because you're hitting them with too much stuff. It's too much at one time. And we're gonna show you how to break it down, okay? The average consumer attention span, all right? Remember this, it's such a sad study from Microsoft. And matter of fact, this is a decrease of from 12 seconds back in 2000, but look at this. We have a 1 second shorter attention span than a goldfish. One of those swimming around in your little bowl there. Apparently we are dumber. But the point is, obviously we're not dumber, but it's because we're hit with so many different things. According to Forbes, the average person views more than 10,000 marketing messages on any given day. You saw that in the online marketing course we did in your free courses. Your competition is anything that's placing more value and capturing the attention and getting the focus of the consumer over you. It's not just a clear aligner down the street. It's not that. It goes well beyond that, okay? So the more we hit people with, even when we have good intentions, like the Ford dealership, he had good intentions. He was trying to give me options, show me some other ones. Even a couple of those Ford Raptors he pulled were actually cheaper than the one I brought home. So it wasn't just a pure upcharge. There was no ill intent, but he actually backfired on them. And then I never even bought. And that happens in ortho and others all the time. It's that there's information overload. They're seeking so many different opinions. They get hit with too much. They leave. Life gets in the way. 2 years goes by and they haven't bought anywhere. Happens all the time, which is why pending treatment follow-up is so important, by the way. But let's look at how information overload is in this small paragraph, and it's everything. You have to remember, this is a non-clinical person that you are selling to, and you are hitting them with insurance, out-of-pocket expenses, total price, all the things that it comes with as you sit there with your clipboard, all right? You're offering them multiple different payment options. And it's not like you're sitting there trying to overload it, and just like the Ford salesman, you don't have ill intent. But what you don't understand is that this, even though it's a pretty short paragraph, is absolutely bombarding them with too much information, okay? Remember, you're sitting there in your exam room, you've got your chair there, they're here, you know, you've got your clipboard out and you're going through your itemized list of everything, all right? It's too much. And this is something, by the way, just having a piece of paper out, I'm gonna show you here in a minute, is one of the things to get rid of because it takes the attention off of you, which is the last thing you want. So how do we lessen the information overload? It starts with number one, have no paperwork on your desk. Keep it clean. There's somewhere in healthcare at some point, I don't know if it was a consultant, I don't know what it is, but people think they've got to show this big itemized list of everything that comes with the vehicle, right? And it's like the window sticker. You got leather seats, you've got this, it comes with this, and it's not necessary. You don't have to do that in your practice. Matter of fact, anything that takes the attention off of you and your verbal skills and your passion and your excitement that you should be showing is a negative thing. It's not positive, okay? Because the more they're visually seeing, the more they're being overloaded with information that they don't understand because they're not clinical, okay? Get rid of the itemized list. There's a time for it, but right now is not the time for it. And you may be looking at me and that may be a complete reverse of everything you've ever been taught. And that's the beauty of what we offer because we are experts in the non-clinical, okay? Get rid of this stuff. Have their attention on your eyes. That's the attention. That's all the attention that they should have. Now, also learn how to break things down into what's called psychological segments. I'm not going to dive into this, but I've already showed you two. Getting rid of apathy. Remember that first paragraph, and we're going to bring this together with more here shortly. Remember that first paragraph. That was a psychological segment. All kinds of psychology in it. It showed enthusiasm, excitement, emotional buy-in. It wasn't healthcare-y. Then the second paragraph, and that's when it talked about insurance, but it was a segmented paragraph, right? That didn't bombard them with healthcare stuff. Again, it bombarded them with psychological things, excitement, authority, consensus, etc., etc. Okay? We've got to do these three things. Don't feel like you have to have paperwork all over that you're trying to show them. It is having a backfiring effect. And I'm going to show you when we get to a little bit more scripting, a third psychological segment that's really going to help you. But let's now dive into anchoring bias. We are now going to get into some really, really high level stuff. It really started with trigger words when we started talking there. And this is another one. Anchoring bias is an advanced form of sticker shock. And sticker shock is a huge reason why people don't buy. And this is going to roll us into sticker shock. I'm going to give you some real life examples of how this applies. All right, anchoring bias. This is all over Google. This was a long time ago, but there's a famous salon study. And they were trying to sell their annual memberships for $1,068 a year. And that's how they were marketing it. And they were not having success with it at all. Sales were down. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. Well, they revamped some things. They changed their marketing, and then it reflected after they changed the marketing that the annual membership was only $99 a month, okay? And their membership sales skyrocketed. Now, the crazy thing about this is the fact that if you take the math and do $99 a month versus $1,068 a year, the $99 a month comes out to be more expensive. It comes out to be $120 more expensive. And this, if anything, is the proof of what we're talking about. It's all about presentation. It's all about how you make things look, how you say them, how you deliver them. And that's the ability to be more expensive at your practice while getting more people to buy. This shows it right here because the people you're dealing with are consumers just like you. This study works on all of us, and this stuff is done on all of us all the time, whether we realize it or not. So let's look at what anchoring bias is. It's a cognitive bias that causes us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we are given about a topic. So you think back to the saloon study. When people saw 1,068, that psychologically seemed to be more expensive than the $99 a month, right? It's all how it was perceived psychologically by the brain. And we interpret newer information from the reference point of our anchor instead of seeing it objectively. And this can lead to skewed judgment, exactly like it did to this saloon. And it's happening to your practice as well, all right? I'm going to show you some examples we're going to dive into here momentarily that brings some real world stuff into your practice, but it also shows some things that are inside your practice right now that are happening that you may just not have put your finger on, and it'll get you thinking a little bit differently. Anchoring bias. So let's look at anchoring bias in terms of this paragraph. Okay, if I was going to ask you where is anchoring bias after hearing the saloon study and the psychological definition, would you have been able to get this? Because this is it. Every time you tell the total price to that consumer, boom, you have created that saloon study, you've created anchoring bias. Does it mean it's impossible to close people? Of course not. But again, it's taking them out of your yes funnel and it's making it harder, and it absolutely impacts whether or not people say, here's my money, or let me think about it. Let's look at this. How it's hurting your financial presentation. Anchoring bias is a leading cause of why people do not buy treatment at all, they don't buy same-day treatment, or they inevitably buy from the competition or nobody at all. And there are two main ways anchoring bias comes into play, okay? There's two ways it hurts your cash flow, your overall treatment acceptance, and revenue when you're presenting money. First is how, when, and two, what type of buyer the total treatment fee is verbalized. In a minute, I'm going to show you some scripting that is going to help you with this. All right, you'll notice when the scripting, it just makes it so easy, so simple, and it segments it. A long time ago, my parents used to fight about money because my mom bought very differently than my dad. Engineers tend to be paid in full buyers. My dad, when he was alive, was an engineer. And he wanted to say, here's a check. be done with it. My mom is like, I want to keep that cash. Let's pay monthly. And my mom represents the majority of buyers. Okay, most people are the monthly payment. Either they have to be, or even if they have the money, they still choose to keep the money and buy monthly, even if there's interest, right? So those two buyers, you can't present money effectively the same way, because what attracts my mom is very different than my dad, vice versa. So that's what I'm going to show you, and that's what that means is to what type of consumer you're presenting to. Because presenting the total price isn't always a bad thing, depending on how that person buys. But if you present the total price to my mom, the low monthly payment buyer, anchoring bias is not good, okay? That's why you must know your consumer. Our Financial Presentation University course dives deep into that psychology of that consumer, how you identify them, the steps it takes, how to present better, okay? Our private clients thrive with that because they practice it so many times. Here, though, I'm going to give you more of the concept, and I'm going to give you some scripting here momentarily that's really going to help you. Second, it's when the total treatment fee is higher than the potential buyer expected it to be when you are the first opinion. Let's look a little bit more about this, okay? How this works in the real world. Imagine you're shopping for a friend. And again, I want you to remember the second opinion. This is why the second opinion, among many other reasons, has the upper hand, even if they're more expensive than what that person had budgeted for. Here's how it works, and this has happened to us all at some point in our life journey. Imagine you're shopping for a friend, say you're buying them a birthday or Christmas gift, whatever, and your budget is $50. You find the perfect gift, you're excited about it, but it costs you $100, which is far more than you budgeted for, twice as much, so it's way more. So you're like, oh man, I want that present, but I need to keep looking. Then you go down the street to another store and find something else, a really good gift too. You like the place, they were nice, and it was $75. Well, that's still more than what you budgeted for, $25 more, so still considerably more. But what do you think to yourself? Well, it's cheaper than that other place, and you go ahead and buy. This has happened to us all in some form or fashion in our lives. And this is exactly what happens to your practice if you are more expensive when they come to see you first than the second opinion, even though the second opinion is still more expensive than what they want to buy. This is why, among many other reasons you've heard us talk, you must be an expert at the non-clinical experiences that go inside your practice. Because we can teach you, even though you're the first opinion, how to still win. Doesn't mean they're not going to seek other advice, right? Or other opinions, excuse me. But we can teach you to still win. So important, obviously, if you want to thrive in this economy with people shopping. All right? This, again, is why the second opinion wins. All right? And what I just taught you, what we just talked about, was an advanced form of sticker shock. All right, what is sticker shock? Shock or dismay experienced by the potential buyers of a particular product on discovering its high or increased price. It's happened to us all. And according to Dental Economics, Align Technology, and Us New Patient Group, as well as others, sticker shock, total price, is one of the top reasons, if not the number one reason, why people don't buy same day, so right now, buy from someone else, or decide not to buy at all. And sticker shock occurs how and when the total treatment fee is verbalized. And also, remember, anchoring bias was just the first number they hear, right? Sticker shock can happen multiple times throughout your presentation. So it also has, in this case, when you state it, it's the down payment required when you verbalize that. So let's look at this. The sticker shock, okay? Right here, that leaves you with a total out-of-pocket expense of $5,000. That's sticker shock number one. Now, where the second sticker shock happens is now when you verbalize the down payment. That requires at least a $1,500 down payment. Not only did you sticker shock them, remember that's also a trigger word, requires, embedded into that paragraph, going back to your presentation skills. Okay, so twice. Let's look at this now. Think back to anchoring bias for a minute and what you learned there and how the second opinion has the upper hand. Let's take a look at something. We said sticker shock is a form of anchoring bias that also leads to the same scenario of the second opinion winning. So same thing, they're intertwined while different. And here's an example of how it applies to your practice. Your budget is $5,000, all right? You have a patient, Janice, walking in your practice. Her budget's $5,000. She has $500 saved for a down payment. She's ready to go if somebody can hit that. She walks into your practice charges $6,000 with a $1,000 down payment. That's how it's verbalized to her as well. So she got hit, anchoring bias, and sticker shock. The second practice, all right, was $5,500. $500 more than her budget with a $800 down payment. Same thing as you shopping for the gift. This is what happens. You may say to yourself, well, it's still more than I budgeted for, but it's less than the other place. I'm excited about getting started, and they buy from them. And that second opinion from an anchoring bias and a sticker shock fashion is exactly how you lose when presenting money in that paragraph that I showed you throughout so far as we're going through this particular course. But again, this doesn't mean we want you to be cheaper. All right, this does not mean you have to be her budget. This means that you must increase the value you offer for her to part ways with the money at a more increased level, but you also must be an expert at presentation to, even if you're more expensive, you find a way to make this work for her. And I'm going to show you how to do it here momentarily and how you can be more expensive than all the other opinions, but still win. You've already learned it throughout this free course. We've taught you from A to Z how you do that. Now we're also teaching you how you can eliminate some of these mistakes. Now, of course, the course is going to go in much more depth, but you've already learned some things that will eliminate the mistakes made when presenting money. So one, how are we going to be unique and take action? Then we're going to bring some of this verbiage together. Start by identifying your buyer by simply asking if they would like to hear about your low monthly payments or paid in full discount options. I'm going to show you how that plays out here momentarily. Mrs. Jones, so excited to get you started today. We have great investment options. So remember the trigger words that I taught you. Not payment options, investment options. And I want you to say that word because psychologically it's building the right image in their mind, okay? If you leave this out and just say options, that's fine. But this is the problem. You've left out a specific word that builds the right image in their mind that you want to use. This is why scripting is so critical. And if you go off script, you can completely change the entire psychological meaning of it. Investment options for you to choose from. Would you like to learn more about our low monthly payments or our paid in full discount? Now I'm going to show you how this all brings together here momentarily, but this right here is how you're identifying, and there is much more advanced ways we teach in our full course, but this was a great way to get you started. This is a great way to go and identify, is this person you're speaking to my mom, or is this person you're speaking to my dad? Because until you know, it is impossible to present effectively. Doesn't mean you can't be good. It doesn't mean you can't be really good, but it will definitely mean that you're going to lose opportunities no matter how good you are. Because once you identify them, you can personalize and customize your message, your presentation, to what turns on that specific buyer. You can talk paid in full discounts all you want to a low monthly payment buyer. You're not speaking their language. They could care less about that stuff. We must identify the type of buyer. So now let's combine this together, and I'm going to show you, and you'll be able to see the difference from the small paragraph before with all those mistakes to what you've learned so far. Let's look at it so far. Mrs. Jones, so you're sitting down. You've got no paperwork in front of you. It's just you and the patient, eye to eye, you and the patient and the sun, whatever it may be. Mrs. Jones, we're so excited for you to get started with us today. This is awesome. It's always a special feeling when we get to welcome someone new into our family. Let's go over some details about your treatment and get you started. Your insurance is amazing, and it's going to cover $1,000 towards your treatment. You're really quite fortunate to have that grade of coverage, as that is much better than we see with most of our patients. This places you in a great place to get started today. We've got great investment options for you to choose from. Would you like to hear more about our low monthly payment options or our paid in full discount options? Boom. Psychological segment 1, psychological segment 2, psychological segment 3. Nowhere does this tell them the total price yet, and you may be going, what if they say, well, I want to hear both, or what is the total price? Our full course dives all into that. This is a great way to get started that will absolutely, without a doubt, have an impact on growing your practice if you're comfortable with it. You can't go, Mrs. Jones, we are so excited for you to get, like if you sound like C-3PO reading from a script, it's not going to work. But you've got to commit to practicing it enough to where it can be yours, but it doesn't lose the purpose of the language, okay? Screenshot that if you haven't already. Excitement. Get rid of the insurance dilemma. Boom, identify your buyer and get rid of that. And let's look at this. So far, in a short amount of time, we've gotten rid of apathy. We've gotten rid of the insurance dilemma. Trigger words are gone. Information overload is gone. Anchoring bias is gone. Sticker shock is gone. You have eliminated 6 things from the 12 that we started with just by implementing those 3 paragraphs at the front end of your financial presentation. Now let's keep on rolling. Transactional thinking, and this will wrap us up for this particular course, okay? Transactional thinking, all right? This is a mindset shift that this is probably more towards the business owner, the doctor. This is probably more towards the office manager than it is anybody. But team members watching, this still very much applies to you, treatment coordinators as well, all right? Transactional thinking, interacting with people solely based on what you can get while completely ignoring their goals and their needs. Your mindset becomes one of, how do I gain from this? But I want to talk about how transactional thinking is affecting the case acceptance at your practice. That's what this is going to be. The first one, and you look at transactional thinking in red here, and then you come over here. Transactional thinking right here is that requires at least a $1,500 down payment. I'm going to have a couple trivia questions in this one for you, and I want you on your end to answer them however you think fit, all right? And I want you to start by this. This is our first trivia question. We're going to go through. Would you let this person buy from you? All right, let's read the example. Joe pays in full for braces in the amount of $6,000. All right, then Mary, new patient, enters your practice and wants clear aligners, but she can only put down $250. Your policy is that people need to put down at least $1,500. Would you let Mary buy for $250 down the clear aligner case? And most people would say, no way. Now, if you're an OrthoFi user, a lot of these mistakes are just taken care of by having the OrthoFi slider, okay? And this isn't a course for that. But this right here, if you don't have that, most oftentimes than not, no way. You don't want to play the bank for that long. You don't want to take the risk. That's what you're telling yourself. But the reality of the situation and what you're missing, I'm going to show you here in just a second. But the reason you're saying that to yourself is cash flow. Brian, how can I afford my lab fee, right? Boom, which is right there. I got to pay employees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That cash flow is terrible. And I'm not sitting here teaching you that's what you should only try to get from them, right? That's not the point. The point of this is more when it does arise, what would you do? And most people say no way. And it absolutely kills their acceptance in this economy because people are shopping. They aren't willing to be flexible. We're going to dive into more. But here's the problem. And this is what happens when you're transactional. You're singular focused. You can't see anything else. And that, I fly planes. I love to do it. That's what gets private pilots a lot of times killed, is you become so singular focused that you ignore the obvious right over here. Like you're looking at one instrument, you're on it, and then you get too slow over here, you stall the plane, you're dead, right? You have to be over here as a business owner. Joe just paid you $6,000 yesterday in full. So why in the world would you not let Mary buy clear aligners for $250? Joe just paid her clear aligner fee, and obviously the $6,000 actually pays, 3 or 4 line bills or lab bills, whatever type of clear aligner you do, right? So you've got to go a broader view and realize that you can't just look at Mary, one instrument in the flight deck. You also have to look at your altimeter, your speed, and let's pretend Joe is your speed, right? You've got to appreciate that because Joe is your cash flow for Mary. It will instantly get you more starts. Now let me look at another one here and let's see what you would say. Mary enters your practice and wants clear aligners. So now it's kind of the same scenario, but maybe you didn't get, so Joe paid the $6,000. Okay, so same scenario. Her treatment time is about 16 months. She can afford $250 down, as well as monthly payments that extend for 24 months. All right, would you let Mary buy treatment from you? Now, most people, again, would say, no way, never gonna do it. We've got cash flow problem, again, my clear aligner bill, and then now you're throwing in the risk of payment default by that patient. All right, so no way. So here's what I'm teaching you, and I'm just gonna say it. Both of those scenarios, you should say yes. And let me show you why, okay? Right here, the payment default by the patient is something you should not worry about, and I'm gonna show you proof why momentarily. Let me take transactional thinking from a psychological standpoint and break it down on how a lot of people view the previous two scenarios. I have to get this down payment from this patient in order to cover lab fees and overhead expenses, just like I was showing you. Also, I need this amount from this patient in case they default. This is the thought process that's going through most practices' minds out there. And if this was 5-10 years ago, hey, it's not gonna hurt you, but it will absolutely kill your starts now because people are shopping. But again, I'm not teaching you to be cheap. I'm gonna show you more here on what I mean by that in just a second. The default, and why I circled it in the screen earlier. I'm afraid they're gonna default. How could I trust them? I've had 2 people in the past screw me. I will never do that again. This is the personal bias as far as the financial presentation. Your bias, the way you feel, is how it's delivered. The payment options at your practice, what you're willing, the risk you're willing to accept, etc., is all based on how you feel and your past experiences. Okay? Personal bias, and we all have it. An individual's predisposition, either favorable or not, towards the interests. To have personal bias is to be human, without a doubt, but the earlier you identify it, the more successful your life, career, and business will be. And it's vital to overall well-being that we do identify our personal bias. Let's look at this slide from OrthoFi. I'm a speaker for OrthoFi, and they've got some really cool data that goes well beyond just, again, the transactional, the singular practice. This is a broad view, in this case, of orthodontics. But if you look at stats in other industries as well, it's pretty similar. I'm gonna show you this graphic here, and then I'm gonna break it down on a bullet pointed item, okay? Give you a chance to just briefly look at this. And now let's flip it over and let's break down what that graphic just said. 95% of defaults occur within treatment time. So you're telling me as a business owner, you're gonna make your decisions based off the 5%? Of course not. Right now, if 95 out of every 100 patients paid you fine when you extended their treatment time, why would you care? Or not their treatment time, but their payment time, over treatment. Why would you care? Who cares? Let the 5 default. You just had 95 more starts that you otherwise never would have had because you're willing to be flexible. All right, another one right here. These defaults peak 6 to 8 months into treatment. So that whenever the 5% that we're talking about does not default, if their treatment is 17 months, they don't default at month 22. They default in treatment 6 to 8 months in. Even better, their default payment is $2,400. So you've got $2,400, it paid the lab fee, right? It also probably paid for some other stuff. You at minimum broke even with $2,400 if at 6 to 8 months they stop paying. Again, back to 95% pay fine. But the 5% that don't, well, guess what? It's 6 to 8 months into treatment and it's $2,400, okay? This is what you have to wrap your head around as a doctor, as a business owner, as a treatment coordinator, is don't go based on how you feel. I get it. We've all had, it happens in every industry. It's happened to us. I'm sure it's happened to you, where you have customers, patients, clients, they don't pay how you want them according to the terms. You got to hunt them down. You lose them. They never pay the money. You're like, I should have never taken it. We all have that. But we get emotional as business owners, where we'll let that moment kind of dictate how everything should be. Don't be that business owner. Those are always going to happen, but the positives far outweigh the negatives. The other one is default has zero to do with time and everything to do with their credit, okay? And you can't be going hard credit pulls and everybody in there, but it comes back to time has nothing to do with it. So if they need 3, 4, 5, 6 more months than what you expect them to be in treatment for, give it to them. It's okay, because that's how you can be more expensive. I want to give you an example here. We're getting close to wrapping everything up. Look at this, clear aligner case example. Okay, you can plug in any example you want. Let's just use that. Clear aligner case, it's going to take approximately 15 months. And this is how you can be more expensive by being more flexible. Practice A that they go into, let's say this is your practice as it stands today. All right, practice A, let's say you only charge $5,000, all right? And maybe you're on the lower end from a clear aligner standpoint. You require $1,250 down, and you are not willing to extend monthly payments beyond treatment time. And if you divide the math with 15, you get $250 a month, all right? Then they go into the other practice, and that practice charges $6,000, all right? $1,000 more than the first opinion, but they're flexible as they need $500, all right? Which is obviously much less than this practice, all right? They want $500 to make it work. You allow them to extend their monthly payments to 24 months as well, all right? So this practice is more flexible, but also more expensive. The beauty is this, when you do the math, it comes out to $229 a month. Cheaper than this, lower down payment than this, more expensive than this, but because they're willing to be flexible with their payment options and extend out beyond treatment, and I know that probably scares the you-know-what out of you, but you gotta trust us, we see it. For every few that don't pay you, you're gonna have ton that pay just fine. Ton that pay just fine. You can be more expensive, it's how you present it, it's how you're flexible, it's not about being cheap, it's about being awesome. That's what it's about. Stop looking at patients in a singular fashion. Don't be the pilot that's locked in on one instrument and kills yourself because you're not paying attention to what's called the six-pack inside the cockpit, okay? Be flexible with your down payment and your willingness to extend monthly payments. It will absolutely make a difference. It will increase your starts right away. It's going to increase your conversion and revenue while allowing you to charge more. Eliminate that personal bias. How you feel about this, take that out. The data is what it is. We see it with our new patient group practices. It's another reason why our practices charge more, convert more, and win, regardless of economy. And let's look at this now. If you implement what I just talked about with transactional thinking, that's gone. The personal bias is gone, all right? The down payment dilemma is gone because you're flexible, all right? The 0% interest we didn't get into. The course talks a lot about that, the dilemma behind that, the fees behind that, et cetera, and how you can do it differently. Treatment time payment plans, lack of flexibility. 11 of the 12 critical financial presentation mistakes and how you have your payment plans set up are gone if you do this. Now, again, our private clients, our course dives into way more on all this, how you get rid of it and be even better. But this is such a fantastic start for you if you go do it. And I really hope you enjoyed the 12 critical financial presentation mistakes costing you growth overall. We can summarize all that, okay? I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed all of these courses. I really hope you become a customer of ours so we can welcome you into the new patient group family. Any questions you have, we are here to help. Financial Presentation University, again, is where I pulled this module out of. It's a fantastic on-demand course that is, I think, 4.5 hours right in there of really wonderful sales content to really take your financial presentation to a whole nother level, all right? Really hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps. Go implement this. Anything we can do for you, we're happy to do it. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.